off the carpet and bring on the Mountaineers.
Pick on a spree.
Yes! To Kevin Jones. The slam dunk, Kevin Jones. Left leg for Gansey. 3 in the air. Swish!
Greg Jones, their outstanding guard, has to be the key. They'll play me.
Daryl Drew. Devin Evac. A weapon failure. Kirby Brooks on the 2-pointer.
Dallas Nichols wins the game.
Alexander. It's a dunk right in his face.
Send it in, Joe. Slayton takes the ball to the left side, spins, shoots, layup, shot, good.
Got that Carter through ball. Javon Carter is in Trey Young's head.
Butler into the lane, into traffic. It goes again. West Virginia has won its first Big East championship. They're going wild here at the Coliseum.
So long, Big Blue. Hello, Golden Blue. The West Virginia Mountaineers are going to the Final Four. It is a great night to be a Mountaineer wherever you may be.
What's going on, Mountaineer Nation? Welcome into the CRW Hoops post-game show here following West Virginia's 70-58 loss to SMU, unfortunately, here to begin the Fort Myers tip-off tournament. West Virginia, after losing this, will now play in the consolation game, the third-place game, whatever you want to call it, on Wednesday night against Virginia, who was upset by Wisconsin earlier in the day. Truly a tale of two halves here for the Mountaineers in this one. I mean, up 11 at half, and then you lose the game by 12 at the end. So really, just completely different shift there in the second half as opposed to what was going on in the first half. And, unluckily for me, of course, I was at work for most of the first half, didn't get home until the second half, so I got to watch, the bad half, I guess you could say. Unfortunately, listen to the first half on the radio, but just kind of my overall thoughts, just to kind of sum it up here at the beginning, I guess my overall takeaways, or my initial takeaways, I guess I should say, which I encourage you guys, drop yours in the chat there if you're in here live. Appreciate you being in here. Be sure to share your thoughts. We really appreciate those interactions here, trying to grow this Country Roads webcast community throughout Mountaineer Nation. So whether you're watching live or on a playback, if you're watching on a playback, you can drop them in the comments as well. But for me, I think transition defense hurt us in this game. That's something I was worried about coming in. Definitely our depth continues to play a factor, late in the game. You can see our legs just aren't there as they were earlier in the game. Also, more fouls coming later in the game. I think that's due to us being tired and, losing some fundamentals of time on defense, not staying in front of our guys and, getting some of those fouls late in the game. So transition defense costly, and I think turnovers really costly for us yet again. I mentioned it going into this game. We needed to get our assist to turnover ratio, to be a little bit better, and thought we were turning the ball over a little bit too much. And this arguably was one of the worst games they've had turnover wise. And it was really against a team where you couldn't afford to do it. We mentioned live ball turnovers against this team would really hurt you because they like to get out in transition. And so, the combination of both of those things, the turnovers and the bad transition defense was a recipe for disaster. And, I mentioned the lack of depth. So some of our shooters were just worn down late in this game. You look at the difference of, Quinn Slazinski at the beginning of this game versus Quinn Slazinski at the end of this game. And it's almost, night and day. Started off hitting everything he could put up. And then at the end there, missed, 8 of his last 9 shots or something like that. I think he missed. So I think right now where we're at with this team, unfortunately, that's going to be an issue is, they might get worn down late in these games. You saw it here. They were able to build an early first half lead, and you felt a little bit comfortable, but then that comes back to bite you late. And then as far as the turnovers are concerned, that also, I think, plays into the fact that you don't have Kerr right now. So, you have Kobe playing there, and he's doing a good job. And I thought Seth played a good game overall today as well. I was especially impressed with how he hit the glass really in that first half. But I think until you get Kerr Kriisa back, your turnover numbers should go down. Then your assist to turnover ratio should improve once he returns. But right now, this team just, doesn't really have the pieces to, maintain, I guess, consistent play throughout an entire, 40 minutes right now. Let's just be honest. That's kind of how it is. It's how it seemed to be from, what we've seen in this sample size over these 4 games now. West Virginia now at 2-2 here on the 2023-2024 season. So we got to hope some things really break in our favor, whether it's, looking a lot better when Kerr comes back, whether it's getting positive news on a Cook or Raekwon Battle, or, all of the three would be fantastic, but going to have to hope for that because just right now with the pieces that this team has, one, it's not that the pieces aren't good enough to win. It's just that you don't have enough. You don't have the depth. You're only really playing 6 guys extended minutes. You're playing 8 overall total. But when you get into foul trouble and you get into late in games where you have some of those foul trouble, so guys are going to have to play, more minutes than they're used to. Tonight was the first night we really saw West Virginia have to deal with that foul trouble, and it came back to hurt us late in this game, unfortunately. West Virginia falls to SMU 70-58 here. 4th game of their season, opening game of the Fort Myers tip-off tournament there in Florida. West Virginia will now play in the consolation game a Wednesday at 6:30 against Virginia. So get on to some of your all's thoughts here. That was just kind of a brief summary of everything that I had off the top of my head. Like I said, unfortunately, I didn't get to watch the first half. I only got to really watch the second half. So the first half, I'm just kind of going by what I was listening to on the radio, obviously. But, not the outcome that we wanted, but got to hope that this team bounces back. They bounced back after their first loss. Hopefully they're able to do it again. But it's going to be a very tough task, Wednesday night against a very good Virginia team. They were ranked in the top 25 coming into this tournament. So, going to have to get your ducks in a row, for lack of a better term, I guess you could say. Timothy says, win or lose, always enjoy your show, Jordan. Let's go Mountaineers. Hey, indeed, Timothy. It's always let's go Mountaineers, win or lose. And we always appreciate you, Timothy. You're always in here loyal to tune in and chime in, man. Appreciate that. G Smyrna, 746. Appreciate you as always, man. Same goes for you. He says, we got outcoached. The players don't want to pass the ball. All they want to do is shoot the ball. This team is bad. They will be lucky to win 10 games. I mean, it's hard to argue with some of the things you're saying right now with, some of the product that we've been seeing from these guys, but I just keep trying to tell myself that, maybe they're still filling each other out. The chemistry is going to come along. You can add some pieces in there that can help, with some of that, especially when you're talking about as far as not wanting to pass the ball and ball movement, because that has been an issue with this team is, not making the extra pass sometimes and, not moving the ball. But you see when they do, pass the ball around and work the offense, they get good looks and then they hit those open shots a lot, especially there in the first half. You saw it. I'm hoping that when Kerr comes back, he can orchestrate the offense a little bit there and maybe get that working a little bit better for West Virginia. But, I agree. It's, not a good look right now. This team, I'm a little bit worried about how they're going to be when it comes to Big 12 play. This was one of the first kind of tests to see how we looked against, another opponent that's going to be pretty good. This SMU team's not been bad this season. I think they have a very good look. They brought in a ton of transfers, and they've got some guys that can really score the basketball. We knew about the ones that we talked about in the preview show, their main guards that were the scorers, and then you had that guy Wright really come on tonight. He hadn't made hardly any shots prior to this game, and then he made, hit everything that he put up, especially from behind the three-point line throughout most of this game. So, that was bad luck for West Virginia, but I think looking ahead, this matchup against Virginia should really show you something as well. I was impressed with West Virginia in the first half of this game. I thought that this would be a back-and-forth close game throughout. I thought West Virginia was going to pull away, and I was in the first half coming away like, oh, wow, maybe this team's not near as bad as I thought they were. But then the second half happens, and, you go from a game that you're winning by 11 to a game that you then lose by 12, and it definitely leaves a bad taste in your mouth, and you're wondering, is this team bad? So, I'm right there with you, G. Smart. I'm kind of questioning myself. I don't know. But, right now I think that this team can win 15 games. I would say a little bit more than 10 maybe, but, it's not out of the realm of possibility either. But I got to think that they're going to improve a good bit when Kirk Reese comes back, and I just got my fingers crossed for positive news on one of the other two as well. You just need to add some more pieces. You don't have the depth right now, I think, and things can change. I know it looks bleak after the way that second half happened, G. Smyrna, but, got to look for the silver lining that things can change for this team as they potentially add some more pieces. So hopefully, they do look bad at times right now, but hopefully at the end of the day or at the end of the season, we can say that it wasn't a bad ball club. At least they were decent, and they went out there and they played hard. And I think that's one thing you can say right now is that these guys do play hard at least. We did get out coached at times, so I'll give you that. Luke Bart says, dang it, man, we need the depth just too bad right now. I know, man. It's sorely lacking right now. John Kelly says, players like Edwards in the whole game, so things can start getting ugly in a hurry. Yeah, I know. We're going to have guys just get worn down, and I'm worried about that too with this coming up, against one night's rest, just one day off, and then you go play Virginia on Wednesday night. I guess the positive side of it with Virginia, it's not a team that's going to run. They play slow as well. So hopefully, our guys have, enough time to get a little bit of rest. I'm sure they're going to do as much as they can to help with that. But I worry about that in a tournament setting with this team with the lack of depth they have currently. Hopefully, if the time comes at the end of the season, when you get to the conference tournament, we'll have a couple more pieces and it won't be as big of an issue. But right now, with the way the team is, crafted with the pieces that we have, I worry about how they may look Wednesday night. But hopefully they come out and surprise us and really put on an even better performance against Virginia, and you end up with an even closer game than you had tonight, because you hate to see the Mountaineers lose by double digits. Thought this was a game they could win. I think in the preview show I predicted 74-72, something along those lines. So I wasn't too far off on SMU's score. The Mountaineers just left a lot to be desired, especially in that second half. 36 first half points, and then you only score 22 in the second half. West Virginia just couldn't buy a bucket, and I think some of that plays into the depth issues and guys getting tired for sure. G. Smarta says there's no one on this team that can shoot. There's no go-to guy. I know, and that was my worry heading into the season when you didn't get the waiver approved for Battle, because the guys that I thought were our best shooters, save for, I guess a Seth Wilson, who's a pretty good shooter, and I think Kerr can shoot a little bit. But, the guys that were our best shooters, I thought Omar Silverio had a chance to be the best three-point shooter on this team. Of course, his waiver got denied. And then Jose Perez, we knew was going to be counted on to be a scorer for this team and could have been a shooter. We know what happened with that and the dismissal and stuff. And then, of course, Raekwon Battle was going to really be your go-to guy, especially in clutch time, that was going to be the guy that you go to count on when you need a bucket. If it's not Jesse Edwards, on the inside, then you had a guy on the outside that you count on, Raekwon Battle, and you really would have had a good look there. So that's what I'm saying. Hopefully you get positive news and maybe his waiver, the appeal gets approved and we could see something with that, because I think the way this team is looking right now, where, Quinn Slazinski's having to be one of your main scoring options. And this isn't a knock on Quinn, because I think he's going to be a good player for this team, and he's been our leading scorer throughout, this season up to this point, and he had a very strong first half despite, some of his struggles in the second half. But ideally, he would be in, the third option on this team at least, or something like that, and that just gives you a much better look, and you could see how different this team could be if you had, Kerr Kriisa attacking the basket and he's got Raekwon Battle to kick to, or, vice versa, Raekwon Battle's attacking the rim and he's got Quinn Slazinski to kick to, or Kerr Kriisa to kick to. And then, of course, Jesse Edwards that you can still throw the lobs to, like we've seen throughout this season. So this team's just missing some pieces that they thought they would have. So they're trying to adjust on the fly and, also trying to build chemistry, because they're guys that haven't played with each other, and we're just having to see that in real time. And because of that, sometimes there is a little bit of ugliness to that. And some of that comes with guys not even hitting their shots, as was the case in this game, unfortunately. But like I said, I think some of that plays into the depth, because you look, they were hitting the shots early, but we're missing them late. And right now, that's just kind of where we are, unfortunately. Without the depth, we might not be able to hit shots late. So maybe we're going to have to, just turn up the tempo to, 11 or 12 on defense late in games, especially if you have a lead like you did in this one. You're going to really have to lock down the second half, because maybe your legs are going to be tired. You're not going to be able to hit as many shots in the second half. I don't know. There's got to be some recipe here to win, despite the, roster that West Virginia is playing with right now, and they've got to be able to find out what that is. But I think there are a few guys on this team that can shoot, G. Smyrna. Seth Wilson showed the capability in the past. Kerr Kriisa, when he comes back, I think he'll hit some shots. And, hopefully get good news on Raekwon. And Quinn Slazinski's a good shooter as well. So, just got to hope they can score better. Yeah, they did. I was very surprised to see Virginia get beat the way they did like that against Wisconsin. So we'll see what happens when the Mountaineers match up with them Wednesday night. Going to be interested to see how that one shakes out, but hopefully it's a better outcome for West Virginia. That's all we can hope for. W Fan Forever says, how can the team show any emotion when the coach doesn't have any? Like I said, I didn't get to watch this game, most of it. I got to catch some of the second half. First half, I was listening on the radio, so unfortunately, I can't really comment on that, and haven't, to be honest with you, haven't paid too much attention to Coach Eilert's demeanor on the sideline, save for, talking to the team during timeouts and such. So, I'm sure it's a bit different than Coach Huggins for sure. That was a guy that showed a lot of emotion on the sidelines, especially earlier in his days. Got a little bit more calmer later in his years, though. But, appreciate you pointing that out there, WVU Fan Forever. Maybe it's something I'll try and key in on next time and see if I can give you offer you up my opinion on, Coach Eilert's kind of the sideline demeanor and if he is showing emotion or not. And just kind of his personality a little bit. But from what I've seen from him in press conferences, he just kind of seems like a laid back, I guess, more I can't think of the word I'm looking for, suppressed, but that's not really the word I'm looking for, type of personality to me. So from what I've seen in press conferences, maybe that's just kind of how he is. And, I guess it just depends on how players respond to that, positively or negatively. Really depends on how it turns out for him as a coach. I don't know. I think that he's certainly got his back against the wall this season with the pieces that he's been dealt, and of course all the punches that he's been dealt throughout this offseason, really dealing with a shorthanded roster right now. So that's probably going to play into Ren Baker's decision moving forward. But just with the looks of this team, unless things change drastically, I would be very surprised if West Virginia is not, bringing in a new coach next year right now. But who knows? Things could change in a hurry. Hopefully they change in a really quick hurry coming up Wednesday night. But that's pretty much all I got on this one, guys. Don't want to stay up with you guys too late. I know this one's coming a little bit later. Wednesday night, at least we'll get to do a little bit earlier with that game tipping at 6:30. I guess that's one of the silver linings of getting into the consolation game. But, of course, we'd rather be playing in the Fort Myers Tip-Off Tournament Championship. But wasn't in the card for the Mountaineers tonight due to a, lackluster second half after a very strong first half performance. Second half certainly left a lot to be desired, and they've got a lot of things to work on moving forward, and hopefully they will improve on those. We saw them bounce back from a loss earlier in the season positively. Hopefully they're able to do that again and come back and get a win against Virginia and win, get a win in this tournament and finish as the third place team in the Fort Myers Tip-Off Tournament here in Florida that we're getting to see West Virginia play in. First game's not being on ESPN Plus. These ones have been on Fox Sports 1, so at least that's something to look forward to, I guess, as we get to watch it here again in another day or so. So looking forward to that one. Hopefully it's a more positive result. West Virginia falls to 2-2 on the young men's basketball season after the 70-58 loss to SMU here in the first game of the Fort Myers Tip-Off Tournament. Appreciate everyone that tuned in here live. If you didn't get a chance to tune in live and you're watching on a playback, you can still help us out by hitting the thumbs up button. Really will help this video's performance and future videos' performances here on the channel. And if you're a West Virginia fan, Big 12 fan, college basketball fan, be sure to hit that subscribe button. Helps us, helps you, helps get more of this Mountaineer sports content out to Mountaineer Nation. And speaking of some of that Mountaineer sports content, going to have plenty of it coming this week. We released the, of course, CRW Hoops podcast for this game. We released the Cincinnati Review podcast. Recruiting update video came out. Tomorrow I'm going to have a player grades video coming out. Going to try and maybe do a video on West Virginia's bowl projections. And then we're going to do the snap count stream tomorrow as well. So be on the lookout for that. I have that scheduled coming out tomorrow. So more of the football coming out. More football content coming out later this week. And then, of course, we'll do a post-game show for West Virginia's contest against Virginia on Wednesday night, which that'll be coming up 6:30 Wednesday night, West Virginia versus Virginia, third-place game of the Fort Myers tourney there on Fox Sports 1. So plenty of WVU sports content coming from us this week on the Country Roads webcast. Be sure tune in here with us. Really appreciate you guys that have done that here throughout the football season and now into basketball season as we're getting it tipped off and moving on here. West Virginia 2-2 at this point. Hopefully get a more positive result coming up Wednesday night against Virginia. Looking forward to that and talking to you guys again after that game. Come back here, chat with us after that one live. We'll be back here with another CRW post-game show. Appreciate you guys tuning into this one. Looking forward to more positive results for West Virginia basketball moving forward on the season, and hopefully we'll get those coming up with this third-place game in the Fort Myers Tip-Off Tournament. For now, West Virginia 2-2 on 2023-2024 season after the 70-58 loss to SMU. Having said that, as always, I'm Jordan Cruz, and until next time, let's go Mountaineers.